Abba-dabby dude! Hi there, this is Abba-dabby dude back with you. And as promised, I'm going to do a quick overview of the IPace today. My one is a First Edition, which is badged as an HSE, but in addition there's just some First Edition badging dotted around the cabin and on the door sills, the kick plates on the door sills, and it's got all the options that are available pretty much. So yeah, now then, we'll start with a few external views, just so you can see what an item of beauty the IPace is. Okay, so you've got the flush mounted door handles that you can see that extend when you unlock the car and then go back flush again when you lock it. The door mirrors fold in at the same time. You've also got this gesture tailgate. That doesn't come with all versions of the car, it comes on the First Edition. I think it's standard on the HSE, not on the S, and I'm not sure about the HS. But basically you walk up to the back of the car, your hands are full with packages, you kick your foot under the corner of the bumper, either corner works, and the boot opens. It's a really nice feature, really useful, and obviously only works if you've got the key in your pocket. What else can we show you? Well, that's the interior of the boot, and as you can see, I've got the dog guard fitted, the dog kit, which comes with the dog guard and the rubber boot line. Now that dog guard is removable, and I plan to take it off, hang it up in the garage, and just put it on when I actually need to transport the dogs. But I don't actually put the dogs in the car. Plan is never to put them in the IPace, but you just never know. Could be an occasion where there's an emergency and I need to. So the dog guard won't be a permanent addition, but the rubber boot line is nice either way. That comes with the dog kit, and I'll probably leave that in permanently. And underneath the boot floor, you can see there's just a little cubby hole there where you've got the two charging cables stored. And that's pretty much it for the boot. Okay, now the keyless entry works as follows. If you walk up, as long as the key's in your pocket, press that little button at the side of the door handle, and there you go. And it locks in exactly the same way. Internally, you can see the cabin there, which is quite nice. I've got the white leather interior, as you can tell. Well, they call it oyster. And the oyster headliner as well. Panoramic glass roof is standard on the First Edition. It's an optional extra on other models. I think it's probably standard on the HSE as well. Rear cabin there, which is nice, plenty of room in there. And it's got the 4-zone climate control, so each rear passenger, except the middle one obviously, but each side rear passenger gets their own climate control knob. Okay, now into the front. and we'll start going through the screens. Here you can see the menu. You can scroll through that, fairly nice. This has got the software update, which is a bit more responsive. The old version, there was a bit of lag there, but not on mine. And we've got the nav screen. You can see I've got all the data turned on because I've got a really high data SIM card installed. So I've got the full full satellite map switched on. You can zoom in, pinch to zoom, slide to pan, the usual stuff. And then we got the cameras. There's the 360 camera, which is really nice. I like that a lot. And you've got a whole selection of the front camera, then the front left and right camera. Then you can see there's a left and right camera there. That's quite nice. That shows you the front wheels, so you can align them to the curb if you want to. And you've got the reversing wide angle camera, and then the normal reversing camera. When I'm reversing, I've got it set up like this, where you can see you've got the reversing camera on the side, then you've got the 360 camera next to it, and then the parking sensors display is just to the left of the 360 camera there. Yeah, and we've got the settings for dynamic mode. This is my own homepage, by the way. This is one that I've set up how I like it. But you got the dynamic settings page with the, well, only works when it's in dynamic mode. You can change the various options there. Then you got a timer, a lap timer for track days. Then there's a G-force meter there. And then you've got a throttle brake setting page here, which has got a little graph as well. It shows you your history, allows you to track how efficient you're being. Then there's the dynamic sound menu. That you can switch on this sort of warp drive sound effect. It's actually quite cool, but I tend not to use it. I tend to leave it switched off all the time because I like the silence of EV driving. And there's the ambient light setting there, which has got, on the standard car there's no colour changing on it. It's got ambient lighting, but it's just a fixed pale blue colour. It's an option on the lower spec cars and standard on the high spec cars that you can select the colours like this. I like that purple on the left, and whenever you put it into dynamic mode it automatically switches to the red colour on the right. I'll show you that later. Okay, that's most of the interesting stuff on the top screen. So now we'll switch to the bottom screen and show you that, the lower touch screen, which has got your temperature controls next to it. So you've got the dial there, which adjusts your temperature up and down on the auto climate control. You can go all the way down, all the way up. I tend to leave it on 22 at the moment, but yeah, so that's quite nice. And you just, the middle part changes colours. You just give you a quick graphic look of how low or high you've set it. Then you push it in, and you get the heated seat controls. Left turns on the 3 grades of cooled seats, and right, you got 3 grades of heated seat. Okay, and then you pull it out, and you've got the fan controls. It's on auto at the moment, but twist it to whatever fan speed you want. And you've got the screen in the middle, which is on media mode at the moment. Little top left touch button there shows you the different sources you can select. I normally just stream off my phone, so it's defaulted to this hits radio station at the moment on DAB, but I usually just stream off my phone. Okay, now the seat page, as well as the control on the dial, there is a control on the touch screen that you can see, which gives you control of the front seats, and the rear seats. So you can go straight to the rear seats, which gives you your all your controls then are for the rear seats. You can switch them on and off from the front, and you notice the dials on the sides now control the rear seating. I'll show you that more later, but then you can move to the front seats, and then you can switch the rear and the bottom of the seat on and off individually, which is quite nice. And then you'll see as well on the dial there's a little picture there that shows the seat goes red when the seat's on. You can also see though that various parts of it light up to show you if just the bottom, just the back, or both sections are on. And you got a similar display on the top touch screen as well, at the top left of it. Now you've got the airflow page that shows you your airflow to your face and feet. Controls whether the smart climate's on or not, and sync just means whether the passenger's got their own temperature control or whether it's set to match whatever the driver's got set. Now if I move it to the rear section, you can see that the dials become the controls for the rear controls. Back to the front, now you can see the sync mode. If you switch it off, you can control the passenger's temperature. And then finally you got the controls for the heated rear windscreen, heated front windscreen, and then the middle one is just your max window demist that switches everything on and directs maximum airflow to the windscreen as well. Okay, then also in this menu you've got your display settings page. I've got it set up for media, but you can set it so that your default display is whatever one you want. Then there's the climate control. Then there's the climate settings page. The general gives you just controls whether the heated screen and the heated rear screen are on auto, or you can manually set them. You can set them to full manual mode. I leave them on auto. The car kind of takes care of it pretty well, but you can still manually switch them on if you want to. But I like them on auto. Then what else have we got? You got the auto airflow. That just controls whether when it's in auto mode you have soft airflow, balanced airflow, or powerful airflow. I like it on powerful. I find it just heats up and cools down that bit quicker, so I tend to leave that on powerful. Then you've got air purity even, which is low, medium and high settings. I don't know why you would ever have that on anything other than high. It just controls the cabin filtration level. High means it's filtering out as many smells as it can. I don't know why you would ever switch that to a lower setting, but you can if you want to. And then back to main. Then you got your switches underneath your lower touch screen, your buttons. This one is your I can't remember what it acronym is, but basically it's your off-road cruise control button. You can press that and the car will maintain a fixed speed off-road. It's very, very clever. I've seen it in action. I've never used it on my own car, but I've seen it in action, and it is quite a clever thing. I think that was taken from the Land Rover side of the business and put into the IPace. Then next ones are your mode controls. You've got your dynamic mode. If you press down, it goes into dynamic mode, and that's the one where you can see the dynamic lighting goes red, and your dials on the dashboard, that goes red, and the actual dial itself gets a more sporty look with the sort of white sports dial surround. Switch it back to economy, goes back to your own ambient light setting, and the dial goes back to normal. Sorry, back to comfort that was. You've also got eco mode and rain and snow mode. I can't remember again what the acronym for that is, but you've got it's basically a low friction mode. and if you engage that when you're not moving, you get an option to switch on the low friction launch system, which is very clever. Again, if you're in snow conditions, switch that on and the car should be able to get going in most conditions that you would have to face. It is very good. I've tested it. Roads where my wife's TT got stuck, the IPace was perfect. So it is a very good, clever and good system. And underneath there, you've got the suspension modes. That's only on cars with air suspension, but you can see it goes from normal setting there, which is the middle light lit up, and you can lower it, which is just your access. It will automatically do that when you park the car to make it easier to get in and out, and then it will raise it once you start the car. Then you've got your high mode, which is your off-road mode, which is actually a really high setting. It's quite a high setting. You can actually feel the suspension lifting up. It's quite a marked raise. Then you've got your drive buttons, your effectively gear selector, if you like, which is just drive, neutral, reverse, and park. Park mode also engages the handbrake. Okay, and then up to the dashboard, the main instrument cluster there. You've got the different layouts available. I've got it on one dial, which I really like, but you can also switch it. You've got the 2-dial mode, which splits that single central dial into 2 separate ones, and then you can have whatever you want in the middle. Then you've got the full map. Now, because of where I'm parked, there's not many roads near me, so there's not much to see on my display, but you can see that there. That's your full map display. Then there's media mode, which just fills the screen with whatever media you're playing. And then this is your driver assist mode, which has got a nice little display of the car. The left and right lines go red if you're crossing the lines by mistake. And they also change display if you've got it in auto steer. It's not auto steer, whatever they call it, lane keep assist or cruise steer assist. And they highlight if it's picking up the left and right lane markings to keep you within that lane. That also displays on the HUD, so I tend not to need that very much because I've got the heads up display, which also shows you a pictorial display of when the cruise system is on and the lane keep assist and all that is working. Then back to the 1-dial. That's the one I prefer, as I say. And you can then choose with your left screen, you've got the choice of showing you media, or the drive assist screen as well, which is again a mini version of that full screen one I showed you. Just highlights again when it's in cruise, steer assist, etc. I leave it on media mode because, as I say, with the heads up display you don't really need that driver assist screen. And then on the right panel you've got a choice of map, so you can have the map shown in your right panel. Again, not much to see on my screen at the moment because of where I am, but you can have your little map there. Or your trip summary mode, which is what I tend to leave it on, which shows your kilowatt hours per 100 miles that you're currently using on your current trip, rather, showing your average miles per hour for that trip, your number of kilowatt hours that you've regenerated through the regenerative braking, and the miles that the current trip has done. And then you can switch that panel off as well, but I leave the trip mode on, as I say. So that's pretty much a walkthrough of all the screens and all the toys. And yeah, as I say, I think that pretty much covers it for now. It's a marvellous place to be. Sorry, I'm just looking around to see if I've missed anything. It's a great place to be. I love the interior of the IPace. It feels really nice. It's lovely to drive. The navigation is nice. I tend to use Apple CarPlay for navigation more, just because it ties in with all my contacts, my calendar on my phone, etc., etc. It will automatically then suggest locations for me based on my next appointment and stuff like that. So I tend to use Apple CarPlay for navigation, but if I'm not navigating, I have it on that home screen that I showed you, which is my setup with the clock on the left, the My EV panel in the middle, and then a few menu buttons, the ones that I like to use in the main, so the audio settings, the dynamic settings button, the dynamic sound, which I don't actually use very much, but I just have it there so that if I do want to switch it on, it's easily accessed rather than digging through the menu system. Ambient lighting control, I had that on there because the old software used to lose the ambient lighting settings, but the new version doesn't do that, so I might replace that with something else at some point. And then I have the camera control button, or the camera display button, which is just handy to just quickly flick on the cameras. Although there is also a shortcut there on the bottom left, but that one seems to go directly into your 360 camera if that's your preferred setting. Haven't messed around with that too much, so I'm not 100% sure if I could get rid of that. But the shortcut camera on the left, bottom left, seems to take you to a different default camera, where that one, for me, it defaults to the 360 camera. I guess it's something to do with the smart settings, I'm not sure. I think it's because I've used that one more. But yeah, so that's pretty much a walkthrough of the outside and the inside of the car. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for being with me and watching. And yeah, we'll do some more interesting stuff, do some drives, and go through what life with an EV is like on future blogs or vlogs as well. So thanks for watching, and until next time, this is Abu Dhabi Dude saying take care, see you soon, bye bye. Abu Dhabi Dude!